Hello, nurturing parents, and welcome back to the Nurturing Parent Podcast. And to start this episode off, I do have to apologize because if you are a weekly listener, then you would know that after 132 weeks, last week was the first time we missed an episode. So we have to say I'm sorry. We also wanted to let you know that we are going through a very busy time here at work and in life. And so we thought this would be a good time to take a season break and come back in the next season while we are working behind the scenes to be able to bring you guys some more tools that will better serve you as parents. Because one of the things that many of our parents are always asking for help with is patience. And so this is our hope to make up for last week with an amazing episode on flipping the lid. So like I said, many parents are always asking about help with patience. And you might look at that as we are constantly flipping our lid and we need more patience. So today you are going to get an amazing episode just on that, flipping the lid, how we might be able to have more patience or make it seem like we have more patience with our kids. Today, you'll really be able to understand why we were flipping our lid. And one thing that you will learn, I'll give you a hint, is name it to tame it. So by naming it, we will learn how to tame it. And you'll get all of that in today's amazing episode. So make sure you stay tuned and I will catch you up on where Amma and I are at the end when I give you all my precious gems from today's episode. So make sure you stay tuned and enjoy this week's episode.
Hey, Mama, welcome to the Nurturing Parent Podcast. Do you want to end the constant battles for bath time? Do you find yourself emotionally exhausted at the end of the day? Do you wake up with big hopes for a smooth day of fun with your little ones, only to face an early morning meltdown because you peeled their banana the wrong way?
Silly you.
Silly you.
Hey, I'm Serena. I am a mama of two little ones, and as a new mama, I constantly questioned myself. I wanted to make sure I was raising respectful kids while also building a strong bond with them. But I discovered that I had to unlearn my ideas that punishment was the way. With Lisa's encouragement, I've been practicing a respectful and gentle parenting approach, which is strengthening our bond as a family.
And hi, I'm Lisa. Amma means grandmother in Icelandic. I am a mama and an Amma. And I have over 40 years of experience in childcare and parent coaching. And I am so excited to share the knowledge I've gained over these years with you.
Together in this podcast, each week we will explore some easy to implement skills you can add to your parenting tool belt to help you create a happy, thriving family. All right, flipping the lid. So you, Amma, came across this video once when originally I think we were recording an episode for a listener Q&A on
getting triggered.
And that's something I'm sure all of us feel is triggered by our kids, which then leads us to flip our lid. And then we flip our lids and then we feel guilty about it after we've exploded on our kids. And then maybe we're either not holding our boundaries or whatever it might look like. And the cycle just continues. So we're constantly flipping our lid. But it was a great video that you shared with me, Amma. And I think today we're just going to really dig into flipping the lid and your favorite stuff, the brain science.
The brain science. Amma loves the brain science. Thank you all for being here with us on the Nurturing Parent Podcast, because when I dive deeper into my own knowledge base and do some deeper research in preparation for recording each episode, my favorite part is when I get to go into the brain science. So thank you, because I'm learning a lot too. I'm deepening my understanding of all of these things. So it's great. So, how do we not yell? How do we not blow up when we get triggered and it's like, oh, and there's a boom and the bah? And why is that happening? And what is going on? And how can we change that? especially as we've talked about a number of times, and a lot of you listeners have written in to say, especially those of us or those of you who were raised in authoritarian or strict or angry households, and you're determined to shift that and be different kinds of parents than you might have experienced as a child with your parents. So, Amma really believes that knowing the brain science and what is going on can actually really help us. It's like when we started talking a long time ago on the Nurturing Parent about that prefrontal cortex development in our children, and they're not just being quote unquote naughty to get you, they just don't have the brain development to support staying calm. Right. So that's been really helpful. So I'm hoping that knowing the brain science about why you are flipping your lid, why you are blowing your top, why you are yelling at your children, knowing the brain science and also knowing the brain science, it's all the same science about why they're doing their freakouts, their upsets, is going to help us just take that extra breath, take that extra moment and go, okay, I just flipped my lid. What can I do to reconnect? So, the first thing I want to do, I'm going to do this with Mama Serena, who we are on video Zoom here. So she can see me, and I'm going to try to describe to you, listener, this really simple way of understanding what's happening in our brain that was developed by Dr. Dan Siegel. Siegel. He's a neuroscience scientist. If you've never listened to him, please go listen to him on YouTube. Dr. Dan Siegel. Oh my gosh, he's fantastic. So much information. He developed this way of describing how our brains work, these basic principles of blowing our lids, flipping our lids. So I'm going to try to describe it to you. And if you can't understand what I'm saying, then you can go watch him do it on a video.
I'm gonna close my eyes and listen to you saying it. And if I'm missing something, I'll let you know.
Oh, okay. Or I could just do it without showing you my hand on the video.
Or that.
Either way. Okay. So I want you to hold up your hand in front of you, one hand, palm facing you. Now I curl your thumb in towards your palm and curl your fingers over your thumb. This is your brain. Okay. Where the thumb tucks in, that's your midbrain. What Dr. Siegel um, coined or developed is what he calls the upstairs downstairs brain. So below that midbrain is the brain stem. That's your downstairs brain. That part of your brain, our brains, is responsible for automatic body systems like breathing and heart rate and all the things that happen without us thinking about it. It's also responsible for automatic reactions. So if you reach out towards something hot and you pull your fingers back, that's an automatic reaction. It's also the emotional brain, and its job is to keep you safe. That's your downstairs brain. Now, your fingers that are tucked over right now in your curled hand, those are your upstairs brain, your fingers. That's the cerebral cortex. The cerebral cortex, the upstairs brain, is responsible for thinking, logic, being rational, problem solving. It's also responsible for empathy and compassion. But those are logical, reasoning kinds of thoughts in our brains. Now, when we get stressed or triggered, this is where we call it flipping the lid. And those fingers that were curled up and curled down over your thumb, they flip up. Now your hand is open. So the lower part of the brain, which is responsible, it's responsible for the um, fight, flight, or freeze experiences of life. And the upper part of your brain, which is the thinking, problem solving, rational brain, they're now, if you can look at your open hand, very separate. The fingertips are way up here. The bottom of your hand is still way down there. And those two cannot communicate. So that's why we become irrational. Yelling is not a rational response, it is a reaction. That's the downstairs brain going into a reaction. And the logical thinking part of the brain is nowhere to be found. It's way up. So that's what it's called. We flip our lid, right? Does that make sense?
It makes sense. And does that happen in the kid too? When,
Absolutely. Yeah. Every
okay.
brain. This is what happens.
So does how much more control does the parent have over that than the kid?
Well, theoretically, after we're past our mid 20s, our prefrontal cortex and that upstairs brain is the cerebral cortex. The prefrontal part of it is still developing in the child. By the time we're in our mid 20s, our brains are pretty fully developed. I think there's always brain development going on throughout life, but the growth of the brain and the development of the brain is primarily through childhood. Now, a brain scientist may argue with me about that because I haven't done a lot of brain science for adults. So,
I'd ask because I can see us adults getting into the same kind of argument with a kid when we can
mhm,
kind of control it a little bit more and
yes,
know to not engage in the back and forth with the kid. But I know
yes,
myself, I get into it and then I'm just like, stop,
yes. Okay,
stop.
good. This is so good because that's why I wanted to give you that visual. And I hope that all of you, you listeners, I hope that you did the hand exercise and then flip the lid and you can just see how that happens. So we're going to get a little bit more into this, what's going on in the brain just now. And then we're going to move into you noticing your triggers as the adult, as the parent. We have to learn what our triggers are. We have to learn the warning signs. Oh, my heart is racing. I think I'm just going to have to calm it down before I flip my lid because there are signs and symptoms that that we're going to flip our lids. It doesn't just happen. I mean, it feels like it happens like boom, like a snap of the finger, but there are some warning signs. So we're going to look at those. We're going to look at what your triggers are or what they might be. And then we're going to go into how to not go into that flipping of the lid actual reaction to life, to your child, to that trigger. Okay. So
Wow. Sounds
hold
like you
on.
have a magic trick
Well,
up your sleeve.
I mean, I would say, I mean, yeah, brain science, it's all magical, but it's all scientific. Scientific magic.
I love
Um,
it.
yeah. So let me just see a little deeper into this brain. So that cerebral cortex, that upstairs brain, it holds what we think about. This is what happens in this part. It looks at situations, it rationalizes. It's where we have our decision making center of the brain. It also modifies our behavior. That's the upstairs brain, right? Now, That is located, if for any of you who really want to know, that's located at the back or anterior portion of the frontal lobe of the brain. The amygdala. This is another part of our brain. This is located in the medial temporal lobe, or in plain English, just above your ears. That's where the amygdala lives. Um, the amygdala is our stress detector. The amygdala will set off our fight, flight, or freeze response reactions. The amygdala is in a really ancient part of our brain. So early humans used to face real life threats like wild beasts and freezing cold and all the things, right? Like we humans used to have real life threatening situations that were immediate, that we needed to respond to right away, react to right away. Now we don't have so many life threatening situations anymore. But if our amygdala reacts to something like it's a stress, it responds as if it's a real physical threat. A doctor, this is a psychologist now, Dr. Daniela Goleman, in 1995, coined the term amygdala hijacking. So the amygdala hijacks our ability to respond rationally. So it's that center of our brain that's the fight, freeze, right? Our child is going to run away, or they're going to fight us, or they're going to what happens next? Or we're going to do those things. We're going to yell at our child. That's the fight mechanism, right? We're going to walk away from this situation in an angry kind of a way. Those are all amygdala reactions. And the amygdala is hijacking our ability to respond. It's the reactionary part of the brain. What we're going to notice is when the amygdala is being hijacked, we're going to have intense emotions that are way out of proportion to the situation. Do you ever, as a parent, after you've yelled and freaked out at your child, gone, when you're lying down in bed that night, oh my gosh, like all they did was just ask for another scoop of ice cream and you
Yeah.
lost it,
Yeah.
right? That's the amygdala hijacking you. So intense emotional reaction, way out of proportion to the stimulus. It makes you unable to think clearly. There is a release of adrenaline and cortisol into the bloodstream. You'll notice that rapid heartbeat, sweaty palms, and an inability to think clearly, and this argumentative, aggressive, sometimes violent, and not necessarily physically violent, but with our words, with our volume of our words that we're yelling or screaming or whatever it is. That's an amygdala hijacking. That's what we're going to try to avoid. That's what we're going to teach our brains, because we can still teach them new tricks in the next little bit that we're going to talk about. And I want to just say before we go into that, that stress and anxiety, well, anxiety is a response to stress, but stress can limit our ability to respond rationally. So you'll notice, and I know you've said this to us before, Serena, when you are stressed, when you, mama or dad, when you're overtired, when you're trying to race out the door because you're going to be late for a meeting, you've got to get everybody out the door. When you are stressed, what happens?
When I'm stressed, I don't function. I cannot. I
You
cannot
flip
function.
your lid way more easily,
Oh
right?
yeah. Oh yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Stress limits our ability to respond rationally. So when that lid is flipped, the rational brain is up here on the fingertips and right down here at the base of your palm. That's the reactionary brain. And that's what we're going from when we're in stress, the reactionary brain, right? So those are the warning signs. We've got heavy breathing, the racing heartbeat. You might get hot or start feeling heated, like you're starting to sweat. Your palms might get sweaty. You may clench your fist. You may clench your jaw. Do you notice anything like that when you're feeling those stress reactionary moments? Can you think of anything else?
Yeah, I tighten up my shoulders. My whole body kind of clenches.
Yes, yes. Tightening in your chest, tightening in your shoulders, your whole body clenches. Um, some people pace. They just start
Oh,
pacing.
I shake my leg.
You shake your leg. Yes, these are all those reactionary automatic responses coming from that downstairs brain. Okay. Um, you may either raise your voice or some of you may refuse to talk. Now, think about you with your significant other. Sometimes we don't yell at our significant other, but we give them the silent treatment. Anybody? Anybody? Some of us have done that. So that would be the freeze or the flight center being activated, right? Okay. One of the ways to intercept this is to notice your triggers, to notice what triggers you. So my encouragement to you in learning about this now is to start noticing where and how you experience stress in your body, a stress response. So you, Serena, you just said you tighten up kind of all over. Your shoulders tighten and you tighten up. So that's a really good thing to notice. Um, so in your own body, when you're feeling a reaction either coming up or actually coming out of you in angry words or angry tones or whatever, where are you feeling that in your body? So just take a moment right now. Serena, I'll get you to practice this for our listeners' benefit. And listener, I encourage you, take a moment right now. Imagine the last time you flipped your lid, you got angry about something, you had a reaction. Try to go into your body, close your eyes just for a moment, go into your body. Where do you feel it? What happens?
Um, this morning, Andrea was fighting me about her clothes to go to school,
Mm-hmm.
and I was over it. I might have flipped my lid. And if I think about where it's coming from, I
Where do
feel
you
it.
feel it in your body? Yeah.
I feel it here, like in my
Mm-hmm.
chest area, like wanting to, I guess, come out or me yell at her, like stomp or like enough, Andrea, come on, let's go.
Mm-hmm. So you feel in your chest like a tightening, and there's something that wants to come out.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great description of an early warning sign, or maybe it's not that early a warning sign, but there's a warning sign there, right?
Yeah.
And so remember, I've said it many times, the first step towards being able to change a behavior is to be able to notice that you're having that behavior. So, what I'm encouraging all of you to do is to notice those earliest warning signs, because the earlier we can intervene, the more often we'll be able to not flip that lid.
So one thing that I also have noticed is that kind of when I'm at the point of flipping my lid and she's at the point of flipping her lid probably, or she's like in tantrum mode already and I'm about to flip my lid because I'm over
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
I try like I know lately she's just been probably wanting some me time because just a lot's been going on and Annie's
Hmm.
getting bigger now and just it's a lot. So I've just been trying to just sit and hold her and rock her. And that's helped her a lot, which I noticed, but it's also been helping me. Just
Hmm.
sit down for a second and hold your daughter. It's gonna be fine. You both calm down, take a breather, rock it out, and then we both feel
I
better.
love that. It's a perfect response. It's not easy. And just for our listeners who are like, oh, way to go, Mama Serena. Now I feel like a complete schmuck because I can't do that when my child is having a meltdown. I'm guessing that there's times that you, Serena, also just push past
Oh
and
yeah.
don't take that wherewithal in that moment, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
probably every other day that I'm not holding her, rocking her.
Yeah.
The next day, I'm just sitting with her, like seriously waiting for her tantrum
Yeah.
to get on, or yeah, yeah, it's not always
Yeah.
like that for sure.
It's not always like that. And the reason I said that was just so that our listeners don't feel like, oh God, I'm not doing it right, or I'm not doing it good enough. There's not a good enough, there's not a right way to parent. We're all gonna blow it a lot of the time. A lot of the time. And every time that you can intervene and help your upstairs brain and your downstairs brain communicate again and have that moment of holding your child and rocking and taking that breath. Every time you do that, you're helping to avoid that flipping of your lid, saying those things, yelling those things, and build
Well,
some resilience in both of you to be able to handle things better moving forward.
and it wastes a lot of time. It's just like, let's get past this. And like we're mostly frustrated about the time we're wasting.
Then
And
you're
so
wasting time by flipping out.
it's like a little shortcut.
And it doesn't feel that way, partly because when that adrenaline gets kicked into our bloodstream, when that cortisol starts booming through, it's like nothing, like it's an addiction almost. The blood is now coursing with those emotions,
Yeah, and
or with those, sorry, with those go ahead.
you have like tunnel vision. It's like I want
Yeah.
this, and that's it. And
Yes. And we can't see because that reactionary brain down there and this rational brain up here are not communicating.
hmm
So, some other times, just going to finish looking at noticing what your triggers are or might be, and then we'll move into how to shift out of it. And we'll come back to you taking that moment with your daughter because I love that. Um, so, that's your first exercise, is to start noticing where and how you experience it physiologically in your body. Is your heart racing? Do you clench your jaw, or do you bite your lip? I bite my lip. I'm a lip biter. Do you, some people might bite your fingernails, clenching, all those things, feeling overheated. And sometimes we say, oh, I just got overheated, to say I got angry, because it's a physiological response is that we get overheated. So
Yes,
just
I do.
notice those things. You do? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So you might get red in the face, right? Those things. Now, I want you to also notice what words or actions or inactions, what behaviors might feel like they are triggering you. And we need to take ownership for being triggered. Our child or our husband or partner is not doing it to us. We are being triggered. I am feeling triggered. So that's the thing to notice. What words, what behaviors feel like they trigger you? Then the next step of that one is to look at Who did those words or behaviors remind you of in previous experiences in your life? So that's a deep one to look at.
It's funny.
But there,
Can I tell you mine?
mm-hmm, yeah,
So one of my triggers, it's when Andrea she whines, and that's what I always got yelled at. Or
right. So it's yeah. So here
so
you are getting angry and frustrated at your daughter for whining, and you were people got angry and frustrated at you for whining.
yeah.
So that's where we get to break those cycles when we become aware, when we learn what's happening in our brains, and we can actually choose differently how to respond differently, right? So, another deep level of noticing your triggers is to try to discover what the hidden feelings are. So, beneath anger, there is often a fear or an embarrassment or a sense of shame. Anger in the psychological world tends to be a secondary emotion. There's something underneath it. So when we can look a little deeper and discover what that is, all of those noticings are going to help you intervene sooner so that you don't have to flip your lid, yell at your child, freak out, and then feel bad about it. So we're trying to just break that cycle. All right. So, how do we do it? What do we do when we notice those warning signs? One of sometimes this is possible and sometimes it's not. One of the simplest things to do is to walk away from the situation. Now, I say simplest, but in fact, it's really challenging because, like you said, Serena, we get this tunnel vision. And the tunnel vision happens when there's already a break in communication between the upstairs and downstairs brain. So you're already in that fight or flight kind of mode, right? You
Mm-hmm.
already have some of those warning signs are flashing lights. But if you notice your heart starting to race or you're starting to feel heated or you're kind of clenching, what it is, whatever it is for you, whatever those symptoms and warning signs are for you, or when your child starts whining and you know that's a trigger for you, one of the simplest things to do is walk away from the situation if you can, if it's safe to walk away, obviously. So if you're waiting for your child to get ready to go, instead of standing right there while she's whining and whining at you, go, oh, I'm just going to pop back to the toilet for a minute. I'll be back. And I imagine that you'll be all ready to go out the door because I'll be walking out the door when I get back. So you walk away. One of the things you might do if you feel that heart pounding and heavy breathing might happen, or you're just feeling that agitation already, is you practice some breathing techniques. So I want to teach you a couple of cool breathing techniques. And I know sometimes some of you are like, oh, again with the breathing. Like sometimes breathing just sounds like too simple a solution. But with all of this sort of newer form of breath work that people are engaging in, people more and more people are beginning to see what the yogis have known for thousands of years that breathing matters. It makes a huge difference. So, one of the simplest breathing things you can do is just to take a deep breath in. And I'll get you to do this while I talk about it, everybody. So, if you need to, and your heart's racing or whatever, you can put your hand over your heart. But I encourage you also to put one hand on your belly. So, either or, one on your belly and one on your heart. And just take a deep breath in And as you breathe in, just count slowly to 10 and breathe into that belly. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, and then breathe out slowly. Sometimes people say breathe in through your nose, breathe out through your mouth. I don't know if it matters, but one of the things that can make a difference to that is your focus shifts. If you're focusing on, oh, wait, breathe in through my nose, breathe out through my mouth, you're going to be focusing on that, right?
Mm-hmm.
It takes the focus off what you're frustrated or angry or upset about right now. So that's the simplest one, counting into 10 and counting out to 10. Then we have what's called triangle breathing. And I would love you to try this. So close your eyes. And this one does say breathe in through your nose to the count of 3. Ready? 1, 2, 3, and hold. 2, 3, and breathe out through your mouth. 2, 3, and in through your nose. 2, 3, hold. 2, 3, out through your mouth. 2, 3. They recommend doing that one 3 times because it's 3 to 3. We did
I
it
like that
twice.
one.
It's neat, right? I like it too. And then the next one is the box breathing. Some of you might have, I think I've talked about this one before. It's called block or square or box breathing. So this one's going to be to the count of 4. So you're going to breathe in, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Breathe out, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Breathe in, and you can, while you breathe in, draw one line of your square. Hold, 2, 3, the other line of your square. Breathe out, 2, 3, 4, and up the other side, 2, 3, 4. So you can imagine your finger drawing that line as you hold your breath. And what I want to encourage you to do is practice whichever one or ones of these breathing techniques when you're not in the heat of the moment. So that when you are in the heat of the moment, they will come more readily to your brain. So that would be a beautiful thing to practice with your child also, or children, because they're going to need it. And if they're freaking out, you don't have to say, okay, you need to do a box breathing right now, right? You need to just start box breathing yourself. Model the behavior you want to see. Model, because it'll help you calm down. Underpinning those immediate kinds of things we can do in the heat of the moment. Remembering that eating healthy food, avoiding junk food or fast food or sugar-laden foods or drinks, eating healthy food helps our brain work properly. Getting exercise helps our brain work properly.
I would say that should be like in the top. That should be like number one. Just
Yeah,
getting
these are
that.
all the underpinnings, right?
Oh,
Like
oh,
these, you want
yeah,
to have these happening.
yeah.
I just wanted to give you the breathing, like as
Mm-hmm.
something to do in the heat of that moment, but these are all the underpinnings to
Yeah.
help your brain work at its optimum.
Mm-hmm.
Getting enough sleep and rest. We all know that when we're
Right.
tired, we freak out way quicker. Like, boom, that lid goes. Boom, that lid's gone. Boom, that lid's gone, right? Getting the sleep and rest if you possibly can. Um, Practicing meditation, and it doesn't have to be long. 5 or 10 minutes of meditation can really help. And practicing that outside of that heat of the moment. And of course, Emma's favorite, spending time in nature. Spending time in nature helps recalibrate on so many levels. And then also, Dr. Dan Siegel has coined this phrase, name it to tame it. So if you are feeling frustrated or angry, or you're going to blow your lid, name it and it'll help to calm it. When you say, oh, I'm feeling so frustrated right now, Andrea, because I need to get out the door. You need to get out the door. And you're just waiting and waiting for something else to happen. And it's not going to happen. I'm feeling frustrated. And even by naming what we're experiencing, it can help that top upstairs brain and the downstairs brain start to reconnect.
I was
That's
gonna
the,
say, name
yeah,
that's basically like this whole episode. Like
yes.
naming the brain, and now we can tame our brain.
There you go. Perfect. Yes. Um, so there we go. I mean, what else is there to say? Name it to tame it and learn about the brain science so that you can realize the thing about the downstairs brain is it the instinctual brain, right? It doesn't want you to figure it out. It just wants to react and keep you safe right now. You need to be safe from that 4-year-old because she's going to drive you crazy and she might become a saber-toothed tiger, although she won't. So, yeah, just taking those moments, noticing your triggers, being aware of the warning signs, and taking those deep breaths when you feel those first warning signs, when you notice that first trigger, or as early as you can in the process, intervene. Have that upstairs brain go, wait, I just need to say something. Deep breath. Okay, now the upper brain and the lower brain are chatting again. And now we can get our shoes on and get out the door.
It's really easy, guys. Trust me. Said no one ever.
Said no parent ever. Okay, that's a good note to end on. Laughter is a really good place to go. Try not to take yourselves quite so seriously because that's really easy too. All right, let's leave it there. We love you so much.
Okay, I have one super powerful tool or gem or whatever you may call it if you do use it. So, if you put your hand up and literally show yourself that you are separating your top brain from your lower brain and that it's not connecting, and if you are capable of noticing those triggers, noticing when you're getting to that point, and can notice before you start yelling and what you would consider flipping your lid, but once you feel that disconnect from that top and lower brain, then if you put your hand up and literally name it to tame it and show yourself it, and try to connect those two together again and feel it in your body and connect it in your mind as well, I promise you that can save you from a lot of lid flipping. So I think this is a very powerful tool. That doesn't mean that it's very easy. This is obviously super hard, but I think that power of knowledge and just knowing that you named it already so you can tame it, I think will be super beneficial. And so to catch you up as where Amma and I are at, we are very busy here at the Nurturing Parent as well as in our personal lives. If you've been a long-time listener, you might know that Amma is finally moving into her home. Amma had lost her home in a fire about 3 years ago. And so she is going through a big move right now. My neighbor unfortunately lost his home to a fire just recently as well. So it's just been an interesting time, and I've kind of taken on trying to help them, maybe because I feel so connected to Amma and she's going through this right now, so I really see what kind of impact it has on a family. So we are going through a lot right now. I'm sure Alma would love to have all your support, and if anybody can send her a loving message. Alma really has been amazing to so many moms that have reached out to us, and dads. Sorry. She's helped a lot of dads too. So if anyone has a chance and just wants to send her some of your love, I know she would love that. We want to thank you all for being here with us always. And we hope to be able to get something together to be able to serve our nurturing parents a little extra more than the podcast. And we love doing this podcast, so we will be back for the fall season. And we can't wait to be here again with you. But in the meantime, we will be on our socials, and you can contact us always if you have any questions or would like to reach out to us. So thank you so much for joining us, parents. We love you, and work on not flipping the lid. Work on flipping your hands up so that you don't flip your lid. All right, take care. We will see you soon. Bye-bye.
I want to sing with you. I want to dance with you. I want to laugh with you. Oh, how I love to be with you. I do. I do. Such a short time we've been together. Seems like a lifetime or two. Never knew I could love